Hello there, boys and girls, and all those that sexually identify as attack helicopters. It's your friendly neighborhood debunker, Retro Politics, and today we're going to be reacting and responding to a video made by NowThis titled Why Mitch McConnell's Stimulus Bill Does Not Add Up. So, before we get into this, I've heard a lot of feedback about this video, and especially with how it was shared to me, that supposedly Mitch McConnell's stimulus package is unfair and this and that, but let's listen to what NowThis has to say about it, and more importantly, what they have to say about the senator.
So today we're going to talk about taking Mitch McConnell's advice. We're going to take his advice right here.
My lord, you really had to choose the worst picture of this guy.
See, it's hard to get a read on McConnell because half the time he's acting like Trump's intern and just doing whatever he says, and then sometimes he breaks with him on weird issues.
Well, yeah, it's called being human. Even though they're in the same party, it's not unbelievable for them to disagree considering they're fundamentally different people.
It's hard to figure it out. But he said that he's not in a hurry to do the next stimulus package. All his millionaire and billionaire buddies, they've already been bailed out.
Okay, I get that the stimulus package was very controversial considering that $4 trillion went to big corporations that could afford to stay afloat and only $2 trillion actually went to the people suffering. But to be honest, I don't think any bailout should have happened considering that all of this money that the Fed has printed will eventually and inevitably just lead to higher inflation and higher taxes, which is bad for all of us because things are going to become more expensive to afford, and we're going to have less money to have in the future due to how much we're going to get taxed. However, in the case for Senator McConnell, I think the reason they're waiting is because they want to see the effects of Stage 3 before they move forward with Stage 4 of the coronavirus preparation program.
It's not like we need to worry about the little guy who is currently creeping towards 1 in 5 being unemployed.
Listen, I get the unemployment issue is immense, but the government is in a situation where the best thing to do is to wait. This is because the more stimulus we hand out, regardless if it's going to the corporations or the people, will only worsen the situation due to debt and inflation. In addition, the only sector that is capable of recovering the quickest is the private sector, and so by leaving the situation alone, we are allowing the free market to do its job by eliminating the bad businesses with even worse business models to be replaced by better and newer businesses, thus helping out the little guy.
Yeah, no urgency though. Get around to it whenever you want to. His logic is that we need to see the effects of that money. The money we've spent already, we need to see what it has caused. That is good advice. Let's see what the money spent has done. So I went over to opensecrets.org. It's a website that allows you to determine who owns your politician. Who contributes to the re-election campaign of your elected representatives who are always acting in good faith. And I went to McConnell's. It's interesting. I wanted to be fair to him, so I limited it to the last 5 years, and I'm only going to talk about companies that had given him, on average, $10,000 or more per year for 5 years, if you break it down. Okay? No company that I'm going to mention has given him less than $60,000 over those 5 years. I mean, you got the normal offenders, the people that normally contribute to senators, the big investment groups who already got their bailout. You got NORPAC, VoteSane. You also have Altria Group. Nobody knows what that is, right? That's Philip Morris. That's big tobacco. Maybe that explains why he's not in a hurry to bail out the little guy. He gets a lot of money from healthcare. A lot of money from healthcare. A lot. Tons. Maybe this is why McConnell is so intractable when it comes to making sure that everybody gets healthcare. Because if it's accessible, well then it's got to be cheaper. It's not as profitable now, is it? Here's an interesting one. Both FedEx and UPS give him money. Now that's weird. Not like they're trying to take out their competitor. Unless, of course, that competitor is the United States Post Office, which McConnell has recently just abandoned.
Wow, how compelling, a politician receiving money from wealthy donors. But we can both play this game. Take Chuck Schumer, for example, Mitch McConnell's liberal counterpart, the leader of the Senate. And oh, would you look at that? He receives money from big donors too, and donors that are far wealthier, influential, and notable than Mitch McConnell's. Let's take a look, shall we? $59,000 from Microsoft, $85,000 from Google, $81,000 from Cisco, $80,000 from Apple, $58,000 from Goldman Sachs, $56,000 from United Health Group, $39,000 from Facebook, and $42,000 from General Electric. And that is all from 2020. And the list goes on and on, ladies and gentlemen. If you're truly trying to discover who's bought by corporate America the most, it's not Mitch McConnell, it's Chuck Schumer. And you see, these companies are just not in the tens of billions, like let's say UPS or FedEx, but rather in the trillions. And all of this info comes from open secrets, the source he uses to denounce Senator McConnell and all Republicans.
When you add this up, you are talking about millions. That's not just lunch money. This is motive with a universal adapter. It's almost like every single policy decision the man makes can be tracked back to this list. See, us common folk, us peons, those at the bottom, well, we don't have lobbyists. You know who our lobbyists are supposed to be? The people taking this money.
Okay, I think I've had enough of this video. And listen, I agree with the message that we should have a tighter leash over our politicians. But the RNC isn't the one to blame, considering that the left has been bought by big tech companies that only have the interest to override your privacy and have a monopoly over their industry. And that's not also including the big financial companies that are trying to have a monopoly in the industry, like Goldman Sachs. Or even when he tries to argue that Mitch McConnell is making sure that, healthcare isn't being solved well enough just because he's bought by pharmaceutical companies, even though United Health Group, a health insurance company that's involved with the medical and pharmaceutical industry, is also having that same interest by buying out Chuck Schumer. And so I think the best thing to do is to stop pointing the finger and stop trying to promote one side, but rather we should come together and have a dialogue about our differences and try to come to some middle ground to establish stability. But on a new note, I hope you all enjoyed watching my video, and make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to know when I post. And make sure to share this video so that the word gets out, and to make sure that we have more open-minded people so we can have that dialogue in the future.